degraded forest, and in that sense, what grows back after you've had a coca plantation is a kind of a much poorer secondary forest. But there is still vegetal cover on top of the land. It's been greatly reduced in its biodiversity, but it's still a kind of a small, kind of shrubbish kind of place. And it's possible to go into the areas of intact forest and take seeds of the local trees and set up tree nurseries with the Ashaninka Indians. And then you can go and plant not in monoculture, in other words, not only one kind of tree like only pine trees or only oak trees, but a diversity of trees and of local indigenous trees. And in that way, you can kind of re-jumpstart an entire tropical forest, and we're finding that we are getting good results with this, that the trees grow, and that slowly but surely, as these bigger trees take hold, birds come back, more seeds, and slowly but surely you can start reconstituting something that looks like the original. But obviously, you know, it takes several generations to get there. But it's going in the right direction. I mean, you know, there are areas where they did cut all the trees down, and what used to be luxuriant rainforest is now pretty much sterile savanna. And you get this in the Peruvian Amazon, and these are very desolate places. And it's true that it's really hard to recover from there. So what you want to do is take places that are not entirely degraded and then try to turn it around and get it going back towards something that's rich and diverse. And, you know, if you have enough will and enough know-how and enough time, it's possible to do that.
Excellent. That is awesome. Let's see. What is one of your greatest memories in this work, in your career?
Well, you know, I think actually just the whole thing, because it's been pretty much ants' work, and that's the whole point. It's always been it's been an uphill battle. It's been lots of work over lots of time, and it's taken a lot of staying power. And you know, I think about, so what's a highlight? You know, I can't think of a single highlight apart from maybe just the whole thing. I guess that, you know, the thing that struck me. Or maybe here's the highlight. After the first 4 years of doing this work, we'd managed to fund through the indigenous organizations of the Peruvian Amazon the land titling of 40,000 square kilometers. Maybe that's 20,000 square miles, I think. That's the probably an area equivalent probably to about South Carolina, but you know, or actually equivalent to Switzerland is how I think about it. It's 1% of the entire Amazonian rainforest. And so with the work of one little anthropologist who put a lot of work into raising funds and working with the right indigenous organizations, it was possible to save 1% of the Amazonian rainforest. Well, I thought, well, that's pretty spectacular. I mean, you know, so it is possible for one small organization to have an impact and to make a difference. You could say 1% of the Amazonian rainforest is a kind of a drop of water, which is true, but essentially, you know, to me, I didn't think I'd ever be able to have such an impact. And to actually be able to leave the universities and to leave the world of theory and books and words on paper, and to actually make it so that entire areas were now the property of the indigenous inhabitants, and that this was rainforest that you could consider to be in good hands rather than in the hands of industrialists. You know, yeah, and that's why I wanted to keep on keeping on, and year after year that. But the results are often not that spectacular. But over time, one ends up making a difference, and that's the thing that I'd like to stress, and why I have a kind of an anti-highlight approach to it. You know, is that it really does take. It's one step after another, and it's 10,000 steps, and it takes 20 years, and you know, and no highlights, no awards, no red carpets. You know, it's just a long crossing of the desert, and you got to find your rhythm and, you know, be like a camel and satisfy yourself with not much, but you can move mountains if you go about it that way.
Okay, so I got it now. So all we need are 100 Jeremy Narbys times 20 years, and we can save the whole thing.
There you go. Yep. Well, but you're too kind. Unfortunately, see, where that is not exact is that I guess I went and worked in the areas upstream, before the worst problems had arrived, and where it was easiest to get that done. Because when you go to the spots where industries already arrived, people have been buying up lands, the lands are already degraded, suddenly it takes a lot more money, a lot more people, and it gets a lot more complicated. We were doing, it's kind of like, instead of healing people who are ill, it's working on conditions so that people avoid getting ill. It's like teaching people about the importance of brushing their teeth as opposed to, healing their cavities or something. So it's that kind of work where you go to areas before the problems have reached there and work on strengthening the good things that are already there. And that way you can get, good results that way. But in the Amazon, there are places where things are extremely difficult, and so in other words, the first 1% was easy, but the last 10-20% are going to be really hard. So I think, unfortunately, it would take more than 100 little old me's.
I think that was an excellent point, and I'm glad I adjusted, because no one would have thought that. It's a good point. We have 2 more questions, and thank you so much for your time. By the way, you're
it's a pleasure.
Now?
That's right.
Okay. So, yeah, you look a little cool. A little cool.
Yeah, well, it's snowing outside.
Woo! We in South Carolina love snow that we never see.
You don't know about snow.
All right, the last 2 questions, you can either combine them in one answer, or you can do two answers.
Okay.
The first question is, what can we all do to make a better planet? And finally, Mr. Narby, what message would you like to share with the children of the world?
Okay. Well, what we can all do to make a better planet, I think the word planet kind of implies ecology too. I work for an organization called New Planet, or Nouvelle Planète in French, and it's also about solidarity among human beings, but also with a thought for plants and animals. And I think that one of the first things that we can do is become aware of the fact that we, as people living in North America and Europe, for example, are in a world that right now has a pretty industrial logic to it. So we're used to consuming a lot of stuff, really, just all kinds of stuff, plastic toys, junk food, automobiles, TV sets, toasters, I mean, the list of stuff. And I think that if each and every one of us can learn to appreciate having less stuff, I think one really big idea is I would like to be noticed for what I know rather than for what I own. So it's not, hey baby, look at me and my brand new car and my gold necklace. It's, hey baby, look at me and all that I know. And so that what you're actually putting a value on is the non-material. It's knowledge, not objects. So I think that, and we are, our culture at least, we live in a culture, just like fish live in water. The culture that we live in is materialist, consumer-oriented, owning stuff. And we're bombarded with messages all day long about own this, buy that, shop here, and eat that, and, more. But actually, no, less. And I think that, and we're getting more and more numerous anyhow, it just makes economic sense to learn to satisfy ourselves with less objects. And I think that we can compensate that with more knowledge. So, and then also I think that to keep on answering the first question, you know, for a better planet, I think it also takes more listening. So listen more to other people, to other cultures, but also to other species. You know, and some people, we're so out of touch with the natural world that some people are going to say, what's he even talking about, listening to other species? How can you listen to a plant? Well, good question. I mean, one way of starting to learn how to listen to plants is you go out and sit next to them and shut up for a while, you know, and see what comes to mind. And just sitting under trees and opening yourself to, you know, calming down our chattering mind filled with internet and TV, blah, blah, you know, just calming it down and see what comes to mind as you sit under that tree or as you hang out with one of your favorite animals. Spend time with plants and animals, with children, with people from other cultures, learn other languages, listen to the diversity of the world. That's already a lot. And I think that if we can learn to get over some of our differences and to communicate, just like what you and I are doing, you're in South Carolina, I'm in Switzerland, and we're sharing our points of view, you know, this is a beautiful thing. And this is one thing that we can do for our planet. And regarding the second thing, a message to the children, you know, I think that children know a lot of things that adults are always telling them to unlearn these things, you know, like, well, children live in a world of imagination, and children, you know, they think that they talk with animals, they talk with plants, and so on. But actually, children have a good feeling about the world, and that they know that animals are intelligent. Children are interested in the natural world. They're interested in other cultures, and they have a natural curiosity. And I think that's the good thing, is that, you know, don't ever let the adults take your curiosity away. For me, that's really been one of the fuels, is that I'm just interested in the world. I'm interested in what's out there. I'm interested in other points of view and learning from people. You know, and so I think that keeping a kind of a childlike openness and innocence is a good thing. You know, and if you love the world, then you can see there are difficult things in there. But so what are you going to do with your life? Well, I think that the best thing you can do with your life is to develop an appreciation for life and for the world, for the people around you, for the plants and the animals, the environments, the rivers and the forests around you, and be interested in them. You can be interested in them in many ways. You can go to the library and read books about them. You can watch things about them on the internet. You can speak with old people who know about them. You can just go and hang out in there. You know, listen to your own interests and what really tickles you, not to what people are telling you what you should be interested in, but, you know, learn to listen deep down as to what really tickles you and excites you and has you interested, and go for it. You know?
Most excellent. For, you know, for the sake of humanity and all that you do, for the things that you've shared with us today, the knowledge and the wisdom, your time and your spirit, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And we are so intrigued by this message. We will be glad to post it on our website, if that is okay with you.
Sure.
And share it as much as we can. Again, thank you so much, and we will do whatever we can to support you in the future and keep you